The stars were quiet that night. They had been quiet for 15,000 years. Across the galaxy, 100 different species lived in peace. Wars were stories from old books. Violence was something their ancestors did. And at the center of this great peace stood humanity. Admiral Park Do-yoon sat in his office on the space station called Hope's Light. It floated above Earth like a silver moon. He was 53 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. His uniform was clean and pressed, covered in medals he never asked for. On his desk sat a picture of his wife, Commander Kim Yuna, and their 2 daughters. He was reading reports. Boring reports. Trade agreements. Shipping routes. A small argument between 2 alien species about mining rights. This was his life now. This was humanity's life. They solved problems with words, not weapons. His communicator beeped. He looked at the time. It was 3 in the morning, Earth time. "Admiral," said a young officer's voice, "we have an emergency transmission from Colony 7. Colony 7 was a small human settlement on a green world called New Dawn. 3,000 people lived there. Farmers, teachers, children. It was a peaceful place." "Put it through," said Du. High and dot the screen on his wall came to life. A woman appeared. Her face was covered in tears and dirt. Behind her, Do-hyun could see flames and smoke. People were screaming. "Admiral," she cried. "They took them. They took our children." Do-hyun felt his blood turn cold. "Slow down. Who took them? How many children?" "The Vexery. Their ships came from nowhere. They had soldiers. They went straight to the school. They took 12 children and flew away. My daughter, my little Sujin, she's only 8 years old." The Vexery were a proud species. They had 4 arms and blue skin. They believed they were the most important beings in the galaxy. For thousands of years, they had been angry that humans led the peace efforts. But they had never done anything like this. "Did they say anything?" asked Do-hyun. "Any reason?" "They said." The woman choked on her tears. "They said the Galaxy Council gave them permission. They said it was legal." Do-hyun ended the call. His hands were shaking. He had not felt this feeling in a very long time. It was anger. Pure, hot anger. He called his wife. Yuna appeared on the screen. She was on a ship near the outer planets, doing routine patrol work. Her black hair was pulled back, and she looked like she had been sleeping. "What is wrong?" she asked immediately. After 30 years of marriage, she knew his face. "The Vexery took 12 of our children from Colony 7. They say the Galaxy Council approved it." Yuna's eyes went wide. Then they went narrow. "That is not possible. I need to find out what happened. Meet me at Council Station. I will be there in 6 hours." The Galaxy Council met on a massive station at the center of known space. It was shaped like a great ring, with sections for each species. Do-hyun took his fastest ship and arrived in 4 hours. The council chamber was a huge room with floating platforms. Each platform held representatives from a different species. There were the tall, thin-borns with their silver eyes, the rock-like Grimaldi, who moved slowly and lived for thousands of years, the insect-like Chitauri, who spoke in clicks, and many others. At the highest platform sat the Vexery representative. His name was High Lord Torvak. He had cold yellow eyes and a smile that never reached him. "Admiral Park," said Torvak, his voice smooth like oil. "What a surprise. We did not expect humans to call an emergency meeting." "Where are our children?" said Do-hyun. His voice was calm, but everyone could feel the danger in it. Torvak waved one of his 4 hands. "They are safe. They are being studied." "Studied?" "Yes. The council voted last month. Resolution 7749. We agreed that genetic samples from all species should be collected and preserved. In case of disasters, your children were selected for sampling. Dahin looked around the room. The other representatives looked away. Some looked ashamed. Some looked scared. None of them looked at him. You took children from their beds, said Dahin slowly, to study their genes? It is for the good of the galaxy, said Torvik. Human DNA is valuable. You are the only species that can adapt to almost any world. We want to understand why. There are millions of adult humans who would volunteer for such studies. Torvik smiled his cold smile. Children are better. Their genes are fresher, and we needed to test human response times to see how quickly you would notice. Science, of course. Dahin understood then. This was not about science. This was about power. The Vexery wanted to show that they could do whatever they wanted. That humans were not as strong as everyone thought. That the 15,000 years of peace had made humanity soft. You have made a mistake, said Dahin. Have we? Torvik laughed. What will you do, Admiral? Write an angry letter? File a complaint? Humans do not fight anymore. Everyone knows this. You gave up your weapons. You destroyed your war fleets. You are nothing but peacekeepers now. Teachers. Diplomats. He said these words like they were insults. Dahin said nothing. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Yuna was waiting for him outside. Her face was tight with controlled anger. I heard everything. What do? We go home, said Dahin. We need to talk to the president. And then? Dahin looked at his wife. In his eyes, she saw something she had not seen in their entire marriage. Something that scared her and excited her at the same time. Then we remind the galaxy who we are. On the way back to Earth, Dahin made calls. He called old friends. He called retired officers. He called historians and scientists. He asked them all the same question. Do you remember the old codes? Everyone remembered. Every human remembered. It was passed down from parent to child, generation after generation. A secret that humanity kept for 15,000 years. They had not destroyed their weapons. They had not given up their war fleets. They had hidden them. Deep in moons and empty planets and dark corners of space where no one ever looked. They had kept them ready, just in case, because humans remembered their own history. They remembered the wars they fought, the planets they burned, the species they almost destroyed. They remembered what they were capable of, and it terrified them. So they had locked away their terrible power and sworn to never use it again. But they had also made a promise. If anyone ever hurt their children, they would break their oath. They would become what they used to be. And now, the Vexery had done the one thing that could wake the sleeping giant. They had taken human children, on Earth. President Beat Junho received Dahin's message. He was a gentleman, a former teacher, elected because he was kind and fair. He read the message 3 times. Then he walked to a window and looked up at the stars. 15,000 years, he whispered. 15,000 years of peace. He closed his eyes. When he opened them, they were hard as stone. Send a signal, he said to his assistant. Wake them all up. Across the galaxy, in hidden places, lights began to turn on. Machines that had slept for millennia began to hum. And humanity began to remember what they truly were. General Lee Taiho was 72 years old. He had white hair and a face full of wrinkles. He walked with a cane because his left knee was bad. For the past 30 years, he had lived on a small farm in the mountains of Korea, growing vegetables and feeding chickens. No one in his village knew what he used to be. They thought he was just a kind old man who liked to read books and play with the village children. They did not know that once, long ago, he had commanded armies that could break planets. When the signal came, Taiho was sitting on his porch, drinking tea. His communicator buzzed with a pattern he had not heard in 50 years. 3 short, 2 long, 3 short. The old code. His hands did not shake. His heart did not race. He simply finished his tea, stood up, and walked inside his small house. In his bedroom, he moved his bed to the side. Under it was a floor panel that looked like all the others. He pressed it in a certain way, and it slid open. Below was a ladder going down into darkness. Taeho climbed down. The lights turned on automatically, sensing his presence. He stood in a room full of old equipment. Uniforms in sealed bags. Weapons that had never been fired. Maps of places that no longer existed. And in the center of the room, a single console, still blinking after all these years. He sat down and entered his codes. The screen came to life. "Voice confirmation required," said the computer. "General Lee Taiho. Authorization code. Sleeping Dragon." "Confirmed." "Welcome back, General. The fleet awaits your orders." Taiho smiled. It was not a kind smile. "Show me what we have." The screen displayed a map of the galaxy. Red dots appeared everywhere. Hundreds of them. Thousands of them. Hidden in asteroid belts. Buried in dead moons. Floating in the space between stars. Each red dot was a vault containing warships, weapons, and technology that the galaxy had forgotten existed. "Total count," said Taiho. 10,400,000 warships. 92,000 planet-breaker weapons. 400 trillion combat drones. All systems functional. All systems ready. Taiho closed his eyes. Humanity had kept this secret for so long. They had been so proud of their peace. So happy to be the gentle protectors of the galaxy. And now, "Begin awakening sequence," he said. Priority Alpha. Across the galaxy, vaults began to open. On a moon near Jupiter, rock crumbled away to reveal a door 10 kilometers wide. It slid open slowly, and from inside came ships. Black ships with no lights. Ships designed to move in silence, to attack without warning, to destroy without mercy. On a dead world in the outer rim, a mountain split in half. Inside were rows and rows of machines. Weapons that could crack a planet's core. Bombs that could turn a star into a supernova. Things that humanity had built in their darkest days, when they were afraid of everything and trusted no one. Captain Li Jiwan was on Earth when the signal came. She was Taiho's daughter, 45 years old, with her father's sharp eyes and her mother's quick mind. She worked as a teacher at a university, teaching young people about alien languages. She received her father's message and left her class without a word. Her students watched her go, confused. They did not understand why their kind professor suddenly looked like a soldier. G1 flew to a place in the Pacific Ocean where nothing was supposed to exist. Just empty water for thousands of kilometers. But when she entered the right codes into her ship's computer, the ocean began to move. A platform rose from the depths. It was massive, bigger than any city. On it sat a building made of black metal. This was the Neural Command Center, the brain of humanity's hidden military. From here, a single person could control every ship, every weapon, every drone in the entire secret fleet. G1 landed and walked inside. The building recognized her DNA and let her pass. Inside, she found a chair surrounded by machines. She sat down, and wires connected to her temples. "Neural link active," said a calm voice. "Welcome, Captain Lee. You now have command of the network." Suddenly, G1 could feel everything. Every ship waking up from its long sleep. Every weapon powering on. Every drone's eyes opening for the first time in thousands of years. It was like having a billion fingers and a trillion eyes. It was terrifying and beautiful at the same time. "Father," she said through the network. "I'm connected." "Good," came Taiho's voice. Start bringing the fleet together. We need to show them what's coming. On the planet where the Vexery had taken the children, a guard named Aurum looked up at the sky. Something was wrong. The stars looked different tonight. Some of them were moving. What is that? Asked another guard. Aurum raised his scanner and pointed it at the moving lights. The device beeped, then beeped again. Then it made a sound he had never heard before. A warning sound. Ships, he whispered. Those are ships. Whose ships? What flag? Aurum checked the scanner again. His blue face went pale. Human. They're all human. The other guard laughed. Humans don't have that many ships. Look at your scanner again. It must be broken. But Aurum knew his scanner worked fine. And he knew what he was seeing. Thousands of ships. Tens of thousands. More ships than the entire Vexery fleet. More ships than anyone thought humanity had. On Earth, old soldiers received the call. Men and women who had retired decades ago. Who had promised themselves they would never fight again. Who had raised families and lived peaceful lives. They all answered. Commander Yoon Sung-ho was 61 years old. He ran a restaurant in Seoul with his wife, Han. They served noodles and rice and made people happy. When the signal came, Yuna looked at her husband. You have to go, she said quietly. I know. He held her hands. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just bring those children home. Her eyes were hard. And make them pay for what they did. Sung-ho kissed his wife and left. Within an hour, he was on a ship heading for the fleet assembly point. Around him were hundreds of other ships, all filled with humans who had heard the call dot in the Galaxy Council chambers. The other species watched in horror as the reports came in. Human ships were appearing everywhere. Not the small peacekeeping vessels they were used to seeing. These were warships. Real warships. Monsters made of metal and fire. This is impossible, said the Voron representative. Where did they hide all of this? They lied to us, said High Lord Torvak, but his voice was no longer confident. For 15,000 years, they lied. No, said an old Grimaldi, his rocky body shifting slowly. They did not lie. We never asked. We assumed they were weak because they chose peace. We were fools. President Baek Jun-ho appeared on every screen in the council chamber. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with cold fire. Representatives of the Galaxy Council, he said. You approved the taking of our children. You called it legal. You called it science. His voice dropped lower. You were wrong. Now wait, started Torvak. I am not finished. The president's voice cut through the room like a blade. For 15,000 years, we kept the peace. We solved your conflicts. We fed your hungry. We healed your sick. We asked for nothing in return except trust. And you broke that trust. It was just the Vexery, said the Chitauri representative. We did not all vote for this. You did not stop it either. The president shook his head. We are coming. Not to destroy you. Not to conquer you. We are coming to take our children back. And anyone who stands in our way will learn why humanity chose peace in the first place. The screen went dark dot in the silence that followed. Every representative looked at the Vexery platform. Torvak was sweating. His 4 hands were shaking. Perhaps, he said slowly, we should return the children. Yes, said every other representative at once. Yes, you should. But on the prison world, no one had told the guards yet. And the children were still crying in their cells, waiting for someone to save them, and the fleet was coming. Like a storm of fire across the stars, humanity was coming, and nothing in the galaxy could stop them. Ambassador Choi Minji had spent her entire life talking to aliens, talking to governments, talking to angry people and scared people and confused people. She was 58 years old, with silver streaks in her black hair and a voice that could calm storms. For 30 years, she had been humanity's voice in the galaxy. She had ended conflicts with words. She had built friendships between species that hated each other. She believed, truly believed, that talking was always better than fighting. But today, she was not here to talk. She stood on a platform in the center of the Galaxy Council chamber. Every representative was watching her. The room was silent. Outside the great windows, they could see the first human warships arriving. Black shapes against the stars, blocking out the light. "Thank you for gathering so quickly," said Minji. Her voice was soft, but it carried through the entire chamber. "I know many of you are frightened. You should be." High Lord Torvak stood up on his platform. "Ambassador Choi, this is madness. You cannot threaten the entire galaxy over a few children." Minji turned to look at him. Her eyes were like ice. "A few children? You speak of our children like they are things. Like they are property. Like they do not matter. I did not mean. 12 children were taken from their beds while they slept. 12 families are broken with grief. 12 mothers and fathers do not know if their babies are alive or dead." Her voice rose slightly. "And you call them a few children?" Torvik sat down. He did not speak again. Minji looked around the room. "I have spent my life believing in peace. I still believe in it. But peace must be earned. Peace must be respected. And you," she pointed at all of them, "have shown that you do not respect it." "Ambassador," said the Varon representative carefully, "we did not all agree to this. Many of us voted against Resolution 7749, but the majority voted to kidnap human children." Minji shook her head. "I read the vote record. 63% said yes. You told yourselves it was for science, for the greater good. You believed the Vexery when they said humans would not fight back." She touched a button on her wrist. Behind her, a hologram appeared. It showed a map of the galaxy, covered in red dots. "This is what you did not know," she said. "This is what humanity kept hidden for 15,000 years." The red dots began to move. They formed into groups, fleets, armadas. The representatives watched in shock as the numbers appeared next to each group. 10 million warships, said Minji. Weapons that can break planets. Technology that makes your best weapons look like toys. We built all of this a long time ago, when we were young and scared and violent. Then we chose peace. We locked it all away. We hoped we would never need it again. Why? Whispered a Chitauri representative. Why would you keep such things? Because we know ourselves. Minji's voice was sad now. We know what we are capable of. We know that somewhere, someday, someone would do something so terrible that we would need to become terrible again. We prayed it would never happen. She paused. You made it happen. The Grimaldi representative, old and wise, spoke slowly. What do you want, Ambassador? I want our children back, unharmed, within 72 hours. And if the Vexery refuse? Minji looked at Tovak. Then we will take them back. And anyone who tries to stop us will be destroyed. You would start a war over 12 children? Torvik asked, his voice high with fear. We would burn the galaxy to ash for one child. Minji's voice did not waver. That is something you never understood about us. We are not like you. We do not calculate the value of our children in numbers. Each one is precious. Each one is everything. The chamber was silent. 72 hours, Minji repeated. Use them wisely. She turned to leave. But before she stepped off the platform, she looked back one more time. I want you all to understand something. We do not want this war. We have spent 15,000 years proving that we prefer peace. We have healed your sick and taught your young and protected your weak. We have given everything to make this galaxy better. Her voice broke slightly. And you repaid us by stealing our children from their beds. She straightened her shoulders. So when the fire comes, remember this moment. Remember that you could have stopped it. Remember that all you had to do was say no to the vexery. Remember that you chose to let this happen. She walked out of the chamber. Behind her, chaos exploded. Representatives shouted at each other. The vexery platform was surrounded by angry aliens demanding answers. Torvik tried to defend himself, but his words were drowned out by the noise. Outside the chamber, Minji found Admiral Park Do-hyun waiting for her. His face was grim but proud. "That was well done," he said. "I did not enjoy it." "I know. That's what made it powerful." He looked out the window at the growing fleet. "Do you think they will return the children?" Minji sighed. "The other species will pressure the vexery. But Torvik is proud. He does not want to look weak. He may refuse just to prove that he is not afraid of us. Then he is a fool. Yes." Minji closed her eyes. "And our children will pay for his foolishness." On the prison world, the 12 children huddled together in a cold cell. The oldest was a girl named Sujin, 8 years old with messy hair and brave eyes. The youngest was a boy named Minho, only 5, who had not stopped crying since they took him. "I want my mommy," Minho sobbed. Sujin held him close. I know. Someone will come for us. I promise." "How do you know?" "Because we're human." Sujin wiped his tears. "And humans always come for their children. Always." A vexery guard walked past their cell. He looked at them with cold yellow eyes. "Stop that noise," he said. "No one is coming for you. Your people are weak. They will complain and cry and do nothing." Sujin stared at him. "You don't know anything about us." The guard laughed and walked away. But that night, something strange happened. The guards started getting nervous. They checked their communicators constantly. They whispered to each other in worried voices. One of them looked out the window and made a sound of fear. "What's happening?" asked one of the children. Sujin climbed up to look through the small window in their cell. In the sky above, she could see lights. Hundreds of lights. Thousands of them. Moving closer. "Ships," she breathed. "Human ships." The children gathered around her, looking up at the sky full of lights. "I told you," said Sujin, and for the first time in days, she smiled. "I told you they would come." Back at the council station, Torvik received an emergency communication from the vexery homeworld. The Emperor himself appeared on the screen. He was old and proud, with scars on his face from ancient battles. "What have you done?" the Emperor demanded. "I did what we discussed, Your Majesty. We took the human children. We showed them that we are not afraid. And now they have awakened their entire war fleet. A fleet that should not exist. A fleet bigger than all our forces combined." Torvik swallowed. "They aren't bluffing. They would not actually attack. They destroyed 3 of our observation posts in the last hour. No warning. No survivors. Just gone." The Emperor's voice shook with rage and fear. "You told me humans were soft. You told me they would never fight. You told me this plan was safe. Your Majesty, I fix this. Return the children. Do whatever you must. But if you drag our empire into a war we cannot win, I will personally throw you into the sun." The screen went dark. Torvik sat alone in his chambers, his 4 hands trembling. He had been so sure, so confident. Humans were peaceful. Everyone knew that. They did not fight. They did not threaten. They just talked. But the fleet outside was not talking. It was growing larger every hour. And somewhere in that sea of black ships were weapons that could end everything. For the first time in his life, Torvik wondered if he had made a terrible mistake. The clock was ticking. 68 hours remained. The 72 hours ended. The children were not returned. High Lord Torvak had convinced the Vexury Emperor to wait. They will not attack, he said. It is all a show. Humans do not have the stomach for war anymore. He was wrong. Fleet Commander Yum Seung-ho stood on the bridge of the warship called Silent Thunder. Around him, officers worked at their stations with calm faces. They had trained for this their whole lives, even though they hoped it would never happen. "Sir," said his communications officer, "the deadline has passed." No response from the Vexury. Seung-ho nodded slowly. He thought about his wife back home. He thought about the 12 children in that prison. He thought about 15,000 years of peace, about to end. "Target their outer colonies first," he said. "Military targets only. No civilian casualties." "Yes, sir." The fleet moved like a single creature. Thousands of ships turned and accelerated toward Vexury space. They moved faster than anything the galaxy had seen before. Technology that humanity had kept secret for so long, now revealed. The first Vexury outpost was a military station orbiting a gas giant. 2,000 soldiers lived there. They saw the human ships coming and sent out a distress call. "Unknown fleet approaching. Request immediate backup." Their backup never came. The human ships surrounded the station in seconds. One ship, larger than the others, moved forward. "This is Fleet Commander Yoon Sung-ho of the Human Defense Force," his voice broadcast to the station. "You have 30 minutes to evacuate all personnel. After that, this station will be destroyed." The Vexury commander could not believe what he was hearing. "You cannot do this. This is an act of war. You started this war when you took our children." 29 minutes. The station evacuated in 22 minutes. Soldiers piled into escape pods and flew away as fast as they could. They watched from a safe distance as the human ships opened fire. The station did not explode slowly. It simply vanished. One moment it was there, a massive structure of metal and weapons. The next moment, there was nothing but dust. "Message sent," said Seung-ho quietly. "Move to the next target." Across Vexury space, the same scene repeated. Military bases, weapons factories, supply depots. Each one received a warning. Each one evacuated. Each one was destroyed. The humans were precise, careful. They killed no civilians. They destroyed no homes or schools or hospitals. But they left the Vexury military in ruins. Torvak watched the reports come in from his chambers. His face was pale. His hands would not stop shaking. "This cannot be happening," he whispered. "This cannot be happening." On the prison world, the guards were panicking. They could see the human fleet in orbit above them. Hundreds of ships blocking out the stars. Dropships were descending through the atmosphere. "What do we do?" screamed one guard. "What do we do?" Their commander, a veteran named Vorak, tried to stay calm. "We hold the children. They are our only protection. The humans will not attack while we have hostages. Are you sure about that?" Vorak was not sure. He was not sure about anything anymore. Lieutenant Yoonhaum led the ground assault team. She was 59 years old, but she moved like a woman half her age. She had left her restaurant and her peaceful life behind. Now she was a soldier again. "Remember," she told her team as their dropship descended, "the children are our only priority. Everyone else is secondary. What if the guards threaten to hurt them?" Hyun's eyes went cold. "Then we kill the guards before they can move." The dropships landed outside the prison complex. Human soldiers poured out, wearing armor that made them look like ghosts. They moved silently, professionally, each one knowing exactly what to do. The Vexury guards opened fire. Their weapons did nothing. The human armor absorbed the energy like water absorbing drops. Hound walked forward, not running, not hiding. She raised her hand, and the wall of the prison exploded inward. "Find the children," she said. Now, her soldiers spread through the building. They moved fast, checking every room, every cell. They did not kill unless they had to. Most guards simply dropped their weapons and surrendered when they saw what they were facing. Vorak, the prison commander, made his last stand outside the children's cell. He held a weapon to little Minho's head. "Stay back," he screamed. "I will kill him. I will kill all of them." Hound stopped. Her soldiers stopped. For a moment, everything was frozen. "If you hurt that child," said Hound softly, "there is no place in this galaxy where you can hide. We will find you. We will find your family. We will find everyone you have ever loved. And we will make sure they know that you died a coward who threatened children." Vorak's hand trembled. The boy in his grip was crying. "Put the weapon down," said Hound, "and I will let you live. That is my only offer." The seconds stretched like hours. Then, slowly, Vorak lowered his weapon. He let the boy go. Hound moved so fast no one saw her. One moment she was standing still. The next moment, Vorak was on the ground, unconscious, and she was holding Minho in her arms. "It's okay," she whispered to the crying boy. "It's okay now. We've got you. You're safe." Sujin and the other children rushed out of the cell. They grabbed onto the human soldiers, crying and laughing at the same time. Some of the soldiers were crying too. "I told them," Sujin said through her tears. "I told them you would come." Hound knelt down and looked at the brave little girl. "We will always come, no matter how far, no matter how long. We will always come for our children." The news spread across the galaxy in minutes. The human rescue was complete. All 12 children were safe. No civilian casualties. No unnecessary deaths, but the Vexry military was broken. 80% of their war capability destroyed in 48 hours. Their empire, which had been so proud and so confident, was now defenseless. On the council station, representatives watched the final reports in stunned silence. "It's over," said the Voron representative. "They did exactly what they said they would do. Nothing more, nothing less. They could have destroyed everything," said the Chitauri. "They could have burned the Vexry homeworld. They didn't." The old Grimaldi nodded his rocky head. "That is what makes them terrifying. They have all that power, and they still choose restraint. Imagine if they didn't." Torvik was arrested by his own people. The Vexry Emperor personally apologized to humanity. He offered money. He offered resources. He offered anything they wanted. President Baek Junho replied with a single message: "We want nothing from you except a promise. Never touch our children again." The Emperor promised. Everyone in the galaxy promised. On Earth, the 12 children returned to their families. There were celebrations in every city. Parents held their children close and cried tears of joy. But in the military command centers, there was no celebration. Generals and admirals looked at each other with tired eyes. "We broke 15,000 years of peace," said Admiral Park Do-hyun. "They broke it first," said General Lee. "Tayo, does it matter who started it?" Do-hyun looked out at the stars. "We showed the galaxy what we really are. They will never see us the same way again." Commander Kim Yuna put her hand on her husband's shoulder. "Maybe that's not a bad thing. Maybe they needed to know. Maybe." Do-hyun sighed. "Or maybe we just reminded ourselves why we chose peace in the first place. Because we are capable of things that should never be done." The fleet began its journey home. The black ships that had terrified the galaxy slowly returned to their hidden vaults. The weapons went back to sleep, but everyone knew they were still there, waiting, just in case. And somewhere, in every corner of the galaxy, Beings of every species told their children a new story. A warning, a lesson. Never hurt a human child, they would say, because if you do, their parents will come, and nothing in the universe can stop them. 1 month had passed since the children came home. The galaxy was different now, quieter, more careful. Species that used to argue with each other suddenly found ways to agree. Old enemies started talking about peace. Everyone was polite. Everyone was respectful. Everyone was afraid. President Baek Jun-ho stood in front of a window in his office on Earth. Outside, he could see children playing in a park. Normal children, doing normal things, laughing, running, being free. This is what we fight for, he thought. This is why we exist. His assistant entered the room. Mr. President, the Galaxy Council is ready for your address. Jun-ho nodded. He straightened his simple gray suit and walked to the broadcast room. In a few minutes, he would speak to every inhabited world in the galaxy. Trillions of beings would hear his words. He sat down in front of the camera. The light turned green. Citizens of the galaxy, he began. I speak to you today not as a conqueror, but as a neighbor. Not as an enemy, but as a friend who is forced to remind you of an important truth. He paused, gathering his thoughts. 15,000 years ago, humanity made a choice. We had just finished a series of terrible wars. We had destroyed entire civilizations. We had burned worlds to ash. We looked at ourselves and were horrified by what we saw. Images appeared on screens across the galaxy. Old recordings from humanity's dark past. Cities in flames. Fleets of warships blocking out suns. Planets cracked in half. We decided to change. We locked away our weapons. We dedicated ourselves to peace. We became healers instead of destroyers, teachers instead of conquerors. We hoped, that if we showed the galaxy kindness, the galaxy would show us kindness in return. His voice grew sad. We were naive. We forgot that not everyone thinks like we do. We forgot that some beings see kindness as weakness. We forgot that peace must be protected, not just chosen. The image changed to show the 12 children, now back with their families. They were smiling, but their eyes still held shadows of fear. When you took our children, you reminded us who we truly are. Not the gentle peacekeepers you had grown used to, but something older, something darker, something that sleeps inside every human heart. Jun-ho leaned forward. We are the species that climbed out of caves and conquered our world. We are the species that reached for the stars and grabbed them. We are the species that fights and fights and fights until there is nothing left to fight. And when we are pushed too far, when the things we love are threatened, we become monsters. He let those words hang in the air. But we do not want to be monsters. We want to be your friends. We want to help you grow and learn and build better lives. We want to see your children play with our children on 1,000 different worlds. His voice softened. So this is my promise to you. Humanity will return to its role as peacekeepers. We will put our weapons back to sleep. We will continue to heal your sick, teach your young, and protect your weak. We will give you the same kindness we have always given. His eyes hardened. But know this. Our children are not a subject for discussion. They are not resources to be sampled. They are not hostages to be taken. They are precious beyond measure, and we will do anything to protect them. If you remember nothing else from this past month, remember this. Humanity chose peace. We can unchoose it at any moment. The only thing stopping us is our love for you and our hope for a better future. Do not make us lose that hope. He stood up. The Galaxy Council has agreed to dissolve and reform with new rules. Rules that protect children of all species. Rules that prevent what happened from ever happening again. This is a new beginning for all of us. Let us not waste it." The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, beings of every species sat in silence, thinking about what they had heard. On the Voron homeworld, a mother held her children close and thanked the stars that her people had voted against Resolution 7749. On the Chitauri colony worlds, leaders met to discuss new treaties with humanity. Real treaties, built on respect instead of fear. On the Grimaldi ancient mountains, the eldest of their kind spoke to the young ones. "Remember this lesson," he said. "True strength is not about having power. It is about having the wisdom to know when to use it and when to hold back. Humans have that wisdom. We must learn it too." And on what was left of the Vexury Empire, a new government formed. They removed all statues of the old leaders. They taught their children about the terrible mistake their people had made. They swore to never let pride and arrogance guide them again. High Lord Torvac spent the rest of his days in a prison cell. He had all the time he wanted to think about what he had done. Back on Earth, the 12 children slowly healed. They had nightmares sometimes. They would wake up crying, afraid that someone would take them again. But their families were always there, holding them, comforting them, promising them that they were safe. Sujin, the brave girl who had kept the others calm in their prison cell, became something of a celebrity. Reporters wanted to interview her. People wanted to hear her story. But Sujin did not want fame. She just wanted to be a normal kid again. So her parents took her away from the cameras and the questions. They moved to a quiet village in the mountains, where she could play in streams and climb trees and forget about the terrible things that had happened. One day, an old man with a cane walked up to their house. His name was General Li Taiho. "I came to check on her," he said to Sujin's parents. "She was very brave. She kept the other children from giving up hope." "She doesn't like to talk about it," said her mother. "I understand." Taiho looked out at the garden where Sujin was playing. "None of us like to talk about the things we had to do." He left a small gift for her. A model spaceship, painted in the colors of the Human Defense Force. He did not sign his name. Years passed. The galaxy grew and changed. Humanity kept its promise. They were kind and helpful and patient. They solved problems with words again. They taught and healed and protected. But they never forgot. And they made sure no one else forgot either. In schools across the galaxy, children learned about what happened. They learned that humans were not just friendly teachers and helpful doctors. They were also warriors who chose not to fight. And that choice was the most powerful thing about them. Ambassador Choi Minji continued her work until she was very old. She helped write the new rules for the Galaxy Council. She built bridges between species that had never trusted each other before. On the day she retired, she received a medal from every species in the known galaxy. "I did not do anything special," she said in her final speech. "I just talked. I just listened. I just tried to understand." But everyone knew she had done something special. She had been the voice of humanity when that voice mattered most. She had warned the galaxy without threats, explained without pride, and shown strength without cruelty. Admiral Park Da-yun and Commander Kim Yuna retired to a small house by the sea. They spent their days fishing and reading and watching sunsets. Their grandchildren visited often, filling the house with laughter. One evening, their youngest granddaughter asked Do-yun a question. "Grandpa, is it true that you helped save the 12 children?" Do-yun looked at his wife. She nodded. "Yes," he said. "A long time ago. Were you scared?" He thought about it. "No, I was not scared of fighting. I was scared of what we would become if we did. I was scared that we would forget how to be kind. But you didn't forget." "No, we didn't." He smiled at her. "And neither will you. Because that's what humans do. We fight when we must, but we never lose our hearts." The little girl hugged him. I love you, Grandpa. I love you too. That night, Do-yoon stood on his porch and looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, in hidden vaults on forgotten moons, the fleet still slept, waiting, hoping it would never be needed again. 15,000 years of peace, he said to the stars. Let's try for 15,000 more. The stars did not answer. But somewhere, in the hearts of humans across the galaxy, a promise was renewed. They would protect their children. They would protect their friends. They would protect their galaxy dot, and if anyone ever forgot the lesson of the 12 children, humanity would be ready to teach it again. But hopefully, that day would never come. The galaxy had finally learned. Some lines should never be crossed. Human children were one of them,